Good evening everyone, my name is Michelle Tishalana and today I will be talking about the specific learning disabilities, which is one of the 13 categories of disability under IDEA. So specifically, I will be talking about the definition of SLD and its types, its characteristics, causes, and symptoms. So first, let us define what is specific learning disabilities. So this definition is provided by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or the IDEA. And this definition remains unchanged since 1975. In general, the term specific learning disability means a disorder in one or more of the basic psychological processes involved in understanding or in using language, spoken or written, which disorder may manifest itself in the imperfect ability to listen, think, speak, read, write, spell, or do mathematical calculations. So the term specific learning disabilities is an umbrella term which describes other types of learning difficulties, such as difficulties in reading, difficulties in written expressions, and difficulties in mathematical calculations. So here we have disorders included in the SLDs because there are disorders that are not included also. So for the included ones, first we have the perceptual disabilities. So these are difficulties in processing sensory informations, then brain injury. So for those people or children who have suffered in brain injury, so there is a tendency that it may result in learning disabilities. And much worse is that when a child has a learning disability, so given na naa siya learning disability, tas nagka-brain injury pa jud siya, so there is a tendency nga ang iyahang specific learning disability is mo worsen pa jud. So minimal brain dysfunction. So kani siya nga term is muni siya ang term gigamit pag early 1960s. However, karon ang gigamit na ang replacement ani niya is the ADHD, or the Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. So, ang kaning minimal brain dysfunction is dili obvious ang iyahang brain damage, but ang iyahang minimal nga dysfunction is maka-affect gyapon siya sa emotions, sa behavior, sa memory, o sa learning sa person. Then dyslexia is the reading disorder. So this is one of the types of SLDs which will be discussed later on. And also lastly, the developmental aphasia, or the language disorder. So for the disorders not included, we have a learning problem that is primarily the result of visual, hearing, or motor disabilities, of mental retardation or emotional disturbance, or of environmental, cultural, or economic disadvantage. So these conditions, so visual, hearing, or motor disabilities, and etc. So if ang learning sa student is affected because of this, so dili siya matawag nga specific learning disability. If presence ni siya sa tao, like hearing, so ang student is na siya hearing problems, then so makaresult siya learning problem. So maybe maglisod siya og dungog sa mga gipangsulti sa teachers. So although naglisod siya in learning, but dili siya makategorize or di siya ma-include sa specific learning disabilities, because ang sa specific learning disabilities man is given nga ang student is normal siya, so like wala siya secondary issues, so normal siya nga student. However, maglisod lang gid siya og cope up sa classroom setting, although age appropriate age appropriate ang mga gipang tudlo, but maglisod jud siya. So muna siya ang sa specific learning disabilities. So we have the 3 types of SLD. First is the dyslexia, second is the dyscalculia, third is the dysgraphia. So first, dyslexia is sometimes called the reading disorder, which is the most common learning disability of all students with specific learning disabilities. So ang kaning dyslexia is muna siya ang pinaka-common nga learning disability under the category of specific learning disabilities. So a reading disability can affect any part of the reading process. So including word recognition, so maglisod siya og recognize a word decoding, so maglisod siya sa relationship sa word or sa letter sound relationship, reading speed, so lisod or hinay iyahang pagbasa, then igbasa niya is maglisod pa gyud siya, daghan pa gyud errors and maybe magpause pa gyud siya. Then prosody or the oral reading with expressions, so igbasa niya is like walay expression, like for example if magbasa siya og poem, so sa poem naman ay murag rhythm, na murag expression igbasa nimo para makuha nimo ang emotions. But if ang student is nasa dyslexia is wala siya na, di siya kaybaw or maglisod siya. And reading comprehension, so ang student is like nagbasa siya but sa kadagan nga information sa iyang gibasa is wala siya nasabtan sa iyang gibasa. Next is the dyscalculia. It is a form of math-related disability that involves difficulties with learning math-related concepts. So, dyscalculia, from the word calculia. So, it comes from calculation. So, the subject nga na calculations is math. So, ang kanisiya is anything math-related is naglisod ang student. So, maglisod siya memorizing math-related facts. So, maybe maglisod siya og retain, maglisod siya recall sa multiplication table, organizing numbers. So, maglisod siya og like unsa man ang mga pagkasunod-sunod sa mga numbers and understanding how problems are organized on the page. So, maybe if sa problem solving is maglisod sa siya. People with dyscalculia are often referred to as having poor number sense. So, poor iyang number sense. Maglisod siya og anything nga math related, anything nga involve ang calculations, involve ang arithmetic. So, if about siya sa math, so poor ang iyang sense of numbers and estimation. And maybe sad kay na siya high levels of mathematics anxiety. Kay maglisod mo siya sa math, so wala na sad siya mahadlok sa math. So third type is the dysgraphia. It is often used as an overarching term for all disorders of written expression. Individuals with dysgraphia typically show multiple writing-related deficiencies. So, ang kani siya is anything written expression or writing related nga mga buluhaton is maglisod jud ang child, like handwriting and expressive writing. Like for example, pasuwaton nimo ang children or ang child about himself in essay form, so maglisod gihapon siya, maglisod siya og suwat, like dili niya ma-express iyang kagalingon og sakto. So difficulties includes grammatical and punctuation errors within sentences. So taga siya grammatical errors sa iyang writings, yung punctuation errors. So imbis nga tuldok dapat ang gibutang kay question mark, ganun. Then poor paragraph organization, so di siya kay pa mo-organize sa iyang mga each paragraph niya. Then multiple spelling errors, so tagan siya sayop sa spellings. Excessively poor penmanship, so iyang agi is bati, so maglisod og sabot ang uban niya tao. So like siya ra makasabot sa iyang gisuwatan, so murag ingana. So next we have the characteristics. of specific learning disabilities. So, when a child has learning disability, he or she may have trouble learning the alphabet, rhyming words, or connecting letters to their sounds. So, kani siya is muna siya ang included sa reading disorder or the dyslexia. May make many mistakes when reading aloud and repeat and pause often. May not understand what he or she reads, so poor iyang reading comprehension. May have real trouble with spelling, so maglisod siya spelling sa mga words. May have very messy handwriting or hold a pencil awkwardly. So the way siya musuwat kay murag dili siya murag na siya laing way siyang pag-hold sa pencil nga mo awkward ang iyahang agi, like lisod masabtan niyang agi tungod sa iyang way of writing. May struggle to express ideas in writing, so maglisod siya og compose og words, maglisod siya og compose og sentences. May learn language late and have a limited vocabulary. May have trouble remembering the sounds that letters make or hearing slight differences between words. So maglisod siya og remember sa sounds sa mga letters. May have trouble understanding jokes, comic strips, and sarcasm. So if nonsensical na, maglisod siya sa abot. So marag straightforward ra siya. May have trouble following directions. So if na instructions kay maglisod siya og sabot pud, maglisod siya og sunod kung unsa ang gisulti nga directions. May mispronounce words or use a wrong word that sounds similar. Then may have trouble organizing what he or she wants to say or not be able to think of the word he or she needs for writing or conversation. May not follow the social rules of conversations, such as taking turns, and may stand too close to the listener. May confuse math symbols and misread numbers. So, maglibog siya sa math symbols like sa addition symbol, multiplication symbol. So, maybe mabali-bali na niya. Then, misread numbers. So, imbis ang nakabutang kay number 6, then iyang basa ana kay 8. May not be able to retell a story in order. So, the way siya mag-storytelling is dili sakto ang sequence. May not know where to begin a task or how to go on from there. So, if tagaan mo siya task, kay wa siya kay ba kung asa siya magsugod. Next is we have the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria. The DSM means the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. So, ang kana siya is muna siya ang reference or ang guide nga gigamit sa mga mental health clinicians to diagnose or classify or identify mental health disorders or conditions. So the diagnosis of specific learning disorder was added to the DSM-5 in 2013. The DSM-5 does not require that a single domain of difficulty, such as reading, mathematics, or written expression, be identified. Instead, it is a single diagnosis that describes a collection of potential difficulties with general academic skills, simply including detailed specifiers for the areas of reading, mathematics, and writing. So, if i-diagnose ko na nimo ang child with specific learning disorder, kay dili nimo siya i-diagnose sa single domain of difficulty. Example, if yung difficulty is reading, so ang reading sa types of SLDs kay included man siya sa dyslexia. So, dili nimo siya i-diagnose with dyslexia. I-diagnose nimo siya sa term nga specific learning disorder gihapon or specific learning disabilities. However, kay nang diagnose nimo ana, but nga lang daw siya og detailed specifiers. Maybe in the area of mathematics. So, ang mathematics is included sa dyscalculia. So, maybe ang detailed specifiers niya kay maglisod siya sa division. Yeah, maybe sa writing Sa writing is the dysgraphia man ni siya. So maybe ang iyang detailed specifier is maglisod siya sa grammar. So inganaon na daw siya pag diagnose. So dili siya ingon nga dili siya nimo siya ang single domain of difficulty daw. So ang kaning specific learning disorder kay usa siya ka diagnosis pero dagan siya og potential nga difficulties. Mo tong giingon nga kuan siya kanang umbrella term siya but nag-describe siya og lain nga types of learning issues. The causes of learning disabilities are not well understood. However, some potential causes or contributing factors are: first is the heredity. So learning disabilities often run in the family. Children with learning disabilities are likely to have parents or other relatives with similar difficulties. So example for this is the documentary nga among i-share sa inyo ha. So among gi-share nga documentary is actually example siya sa heredity nga cause. Kay ang adto is ang child si Aaron kay na siya dyslexia and iyahang father is napoy dyslexia. So maybe nakuha to niya sa iyang papa. So muna siya ang example sa heredity. Then second is the problems during pregnancy and birth. Learning disabilities can result from anomalies in the developing brain, illness or injury, fetal exposure to alcohol or drugs, low birth weight or oxygen deprivation, or premature or prolonged labor. So maybe ang pregnant woman during siyang pregnancy is nagsige siya inom og alcohol or nagdrugs siya. So maybe na siya so kana kay maka-affect siya sa brain sa developing a fetus. So maybe gagawas ana niya is mag-suffer siya or makakuha siya og learning disabilities. So third is accidents after birth. Learning disabilities can also be caused by head injuries, malnutrition, or toxic exposure such as to heavy metals or pesticides. So naanak na siya, then maybe age 5 or 6 kay nagsuffer siya o let's say brain injury. So if na kay brain injury, like I said earlier, kay usually mag-result siya sa learning disabilities. So muna yung mga kasagaran nga causes or potential causes nganong na ay learning disabilities ang children. For my last part, we have the symptoms of specific learning disabilities. While there is no one sign that a person has a learning disability, there are certain clues. Most relate to elementary school tasks because learning disabilities tend to be identified in elementary school. So, ang learning disabilities is pwede na siya ma-identify sa parent o sa teacher during elementary days sa student. It is because sa elementary is Arabia i-focus ang reading, ang writing o ang mathematics. So, if ang child is naglisod siya ang anang area, although age appropriate siya, then maybe na siya specific learning disability. So pwede na siya nga ipa-examine sa school para ma-identify if nabagid siya specific learning disabilities. A child probably won't show all of these signs or even most of them. So dili ingon nga ang sa specific learning disabilities kay dapat naglisod siya sa tanan area. Naglisod siya sa reading, writing, math, listening, speaking, reasoning. Dili siya ingon ana. Pwede sa siya nga maybe na ang listera na niya kay sa reading o sa writing. Or naglisod siya sa speaking area or naglisod siya sa math. But pwede pod or even most of them. So pwede pod nga daghan ani nga areas kay naglisod siya. However, if a child shows a number of these problems, then parents and the teacher should consider the possibility that the child has a learning disability. That would be the end of my part. So thank you for listening. Have a good day.